Hamas warns that further Israeli military escalation puts detainees in Gaza at risk of death. The U.S. president confirms direct talks with Hamas over the release of Israeli and American detainees. And Russian President Vladimir Putin hits back at France, citing Napoleon's failed invasion of Russia. It's 10 a.m. Cairo local time, and you're watching Qnews. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi, and we begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Gaza. Hamas has warned that any further Israeli military escalation could result in the deaths of detainees still held in Gaza. In a video statement, Hamas armed wing spokesperson Abu Ubaida said Israeli threats of war and blockade will not secure the detainees' release, adding that the group is prepared for all scenarios, including a resumption of fighting. The ceasefire's first phase ended on March the 1st, and since then, Israel has imposed a total blockade on goods entering Gaza, demanding Hamas release the remaining detainees without new negotiations to end the war. U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that the United States is in discussions with Hamas over the release of Israeli and American detainees still being held.
We are having discussions with Hamas. We are helping Israel in those discussions because we're talking about Israeli hostages. And we're not doing anything in terms of Hamas. We're not giving cash. We're not giving $6 billion like you hear other administrations give. In fact, I got 59 hostages out, and we gave nothing. In 59, we gave nothing.
The United States has held direct talks with Hamas in recent days, with a focus on securing the release of American hostages. Steve Witkoff, President Donald Trump's special envoy, confirmed on Thursday that the U.S. has made clear to Hamas that bringing hostages home remains a top priority. However, he stated that Washington does not believe Hamas has been fully transparent in the negotiations. His remarks follow reports that top U.S. hostage negotiator Adam Boehler met with Hamas representatives in Doha in an effort to secure the release of captives still held in Gaza.
It could have been through a go-between. I just know that the messaging was, we want to see these hostages come home. We're not going to sit here.
Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has reaffirmed Cairo's firm stance against any plans to displace Palestinians from their land, calling for the immediate return of the Palestinian Authority to govern Gaza. Speaking at the Gulf Ministerial Council and Arab meetings in Mecca, Abdelati stressed the importance of Arab solidarity in supporting Palestinian rights and opposing any forced displacement efforts. His remarks come amid growing regional discussions on the future of Gaza's governance and reconstruction as Arab nations push for a diplomatic solution to the ongoing crisis. The Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) has endorsed Egypt's plan to rebuild Gaza and is urging the international community to support reconstruction efforts, according to GCC Secretary General Jassim al-Budawi. Speaking at the Arab ministerial meetings in Mecca, al-Budawi praised Egypt's unwavering commitment to the Palestinian cause, emphasizing that the Cairo summit demonstrated Egypt's leadership in pushing for a just resolution. The GCC's backing of the Egyptian reconstruction plan adds momentum to regional efforts aimed at stabilizing Gaza and ensuring long-term support for Palestinian civilians. The ongoing Israeli war has left Gaza's infrastructure in ruins, with uncollected waste now posing a serious health threat to the residents. According to the United Nations Development Program (UNDP), Gaza was already struggling with waste management before the war, generating 1,700 tons of garbage daily with only 2 major landfills. Now, after 15 months of intense fighting, the waste crisis has escalated into a public health emergency, requiring immediate intervention. Officials warned that the urgent action is needed to address the crisis as the ongoing war on Gaza continues to cripple essential services, worsening humanitarian conditions in the enclave. Russian forces have launched yet another mass drone attack on Ukraine's Black Sea port city of Odessa, targeting critical infrastructure and sparking fires. According to regional governor, the attack damaged energy facilities and set at least 3 private homes ablaze on the city's outskirts. Footage released by Ukraine's State Emergency Service shows firefighters battling a burning house. The strike is the latest in a series of near-daily assaults on Odessa as Russian forces continue to target key areas across Ukraine. European leaders convened in Brussels for a high-stakes summit to discuss military aid for Ukraine and bolster European defense amid ongoing tensions with Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended the meeting, where he was welcomed by European Council President Antonio Costa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The summit focused on security cooperation and financing efforts to strengthen defense capabilities. Zelensky expressed gratitude for continued European support, emphasizing the significance of unity in countering Russian aggression. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk stated that Europe is militarily, economically, and financially stronger than Russia, insisting that Europe can win any confrontation. He also dismissed concerns that the U.S. is abandoning Europe. Furthermore, European leaders are ramping up defense spending and reaffirming their support for Ukraine amid growing concerns over security threats in the region. At the Defense Summit in Brussels, EU leaders backed new proposals to boost military funding, including a plan to jointly borrow up to 150 billion euros to strengthen their armed forces. The move comes as fears grow that Russia, emboldened by its war in Ukraine, could target an EU country next. The discussions were also shaped by shifting U.S. policies under President Donald Trump, with European leaders acknowledging the need to rely more on their own defense capabilities. In a joint statement, all 27 EU member states urged their ministers to urgently assess their proposals as Europe moves towards greater military self-reliance.
Because preconditions have to be met. We have been the ones, for example, who have secured the economic survival of Ukraine for the year 2025.
French President Emmanuel Macron has revealed that European leaders have approached him about extending France's nuclear deterrence, signaling potential defense cooperation by mid-2025. Speaking at a press conference after the EU Defense Summit in Brussels, Macron pushed back against Russian warnings after the Kremlin accused him of using nuclear rhetoric. Macron cautioned that Russia is rapidly reaming amid its incursion into Ukraine and could pose a threat to more countries if not firmly deterred, including under France's nuclear umbrella.
Je connais bien le président Poutine, donc s'il réagit comme ça, c'est qu'il sait que j'ai dit vrai et que
Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued a pointed response to French President Emmanuel Macron's recent remarks on European security and nuclear deterrence, referring to Napoleon's failed invasion of Russia in 1812.
Еще со времен Наполеона, нашествия Наполеона. До сих пор кому-то не имется все. Есть еще люди, которые хотят вернуться к временам Наполеона, забывают, чем это закончилось.
President Donald Trump has issued a stark warning to NATO allies, stating that the United States will not defend member countries that fail to pay their fair share of defense. Speaking on Thursday, Trump criticized NATO countries for not contributing enough to their own defense, calling the current arrangement unfair. He suggested that while NATO has potential, it needs better leadership and strategic thinking to ensure member states take greater responsibility for their security. His remarks come as European leaders push for increased defense spending amid growing concerns over global security and shifting U.S. foreign policy priorities.
He's never seen anything like it. When I came to NATO, when I first had my first meeting, I noticed that people weren't paying their bills at all. And I said I should wait till my second meeting, and I did. And I brought that up, and I said, if you don't pay your bills.
The British government has secured a deal to supply Ukraine with advanced attack drones for use in the Black Sea. The UK announced a nearly $38.7 million contract with defense tech company Anduril Industries. The agreement will provide Ukraine with Altius 600M and 700M drones, which are loitering munitions capable of monitoring an area before striking enemy targets. Footage released by Anduril shows the drones impacting and destroying military tanks, demonstrating their precision strike capability. The UK's Defence Ministry says that the move is part of its continued commitment to strengthening Ukraine's defence against Russian forces. China has reaffirmed its commitment to global peace, stability, and international fairness, pledging to work with all nations to uphold justice on the world stage. Speaking at a press conference during the National People's Congress (NPC) in Beijing, Foreign Minister Wang Yi highlighted China's diplomatic progress over the past year. He also vowed to continue efforts in promoting peace and stability despite ongoing global challenges. Wang, who is also a member of the Communist Party's political bureau, emphasized that China remains dedicated to strengthening international cooperation and diplomacy.
人类命运共同体建设迈出新的坚实步伐。今年的国际形势依然充满挑战，但中国外交初心不改。我们将继续同各国一道，坚守。
South Korea is witnessing growing outrage after a military mishap left nearly 30 people injured. Protesters gathered in Pocheon, a city near the border with North Korea, demanding an immediate halt to military drills. Their demonstration comes just a day after 2 South Korean fighter jets accidentally dropped bombs on a civilian area, injuring 29 people. The country's defense ministry confirmed that 15 civilians and 14 soldiers were wounded when 8 air-to-surface bombs were mistakenly released over the town, located about 40 kilometers northeast of Seoul. Activists and residents say that the drills are putting lives at risk and threatening peace in the region.
방송을 통해서 보고 있습니다. 간에 한미 간의 군사훈련에 접수국가의 권리가
Severe flooding has hit eastern Spain, forcing evacuations and road closures. Eyewitnesses' video from Murcia showed streets completely submerged after torrential rain swept through the region. Local authorities evacuated schools and shut down roads as a precaution. Spain's state weather agency reported that some areas received nearly 5 inches of rainfall in just 12 hours. In some locations, March's rainfall has already surpassed what is typically expected for the entire spring season. Authorities are urging residents to remain cautious as the region battles the aftermath of the deluge. Tropical cyclone Alfred is closing in on Australia's east coast, bringing powerful waves, heavy rain and strong winds as thousands of residents are ordered to evacuate. Coastal cameras in New South Wales and Queensland captured footage of intense waves surging ashore on Friday, as authorities warned of worsening conditions ahead of the storm's expected landfall on Saturday. According to the Bureau, Alfred is moving slowly towards the coast, raising concerns of prolonged heavy rainfall. The storm is expected to make landfall north of Brisbane as a Category 2 system, threatening further beach erosion, power outages, and travel disruptions. SpaceX's Starship spacecraft has suffered another setback, tumbling and exploding in space just minutes after liftoff. The rocket launched from Boca Chica, Texas, aiming to deploy mock satellites. But shortly after reaching space, the upper stage began spinning uncontrollably before breaking apart. Video from SpaceX's live stream confirmed that multiple engines had shut down before contact with the spacecraft was lost. The fiery debris was seen striking across the sky over the Bahamas, as shown in several social media videos. This marks the second consecutive failure for Elon Musk's Mars rocket program this year, raising fresh challenges for SpaceX's ambitious space exploration plans. Europe's newest heavy-lift rocket, Ariane 6, has successfully launched on its first commercially operational mission after multiple delays. Lifting off from Kourou, French Guiana, the rocket was carrying the CSO-3 optical and infrared military observation satellite for France's Space Command. The mission had faced 2 previous postponements, with the latest delay pushing the launch from Monday. Now in orbit, the satellite will enhance France's defense and surveillance capabilities. An Australian startup has unveiled the world's first commercial biological computer, a breakthrough that merges technology with living human cells. The CL1, developed by Melbourne-based Cortical Labs, integrates human stem cell-derived neurons with silicon, creating a new class of AI known as synthetic biological intelligence, SBI. The company says that this technology learns and adapts faster than traditional AI, while consuming significantly less energy. The system also includes an artificial life support system with pumps, filters, and oxygen management to keep the cells functioning. According to Cortical Labs, the CL1 could revolutionize life sciences, drug discovery, early disease detection, and personalized medicine, opening new frontiers in biotechnology and artificial intelligence.
Carbon dioxide, oxygen.
Now we move on to economic news. The European Central Bank (ECB) has announced a 25 basis point interest rate cut, signaling a shift away from its restrictive monetary policy. Effective March 12th, the ECB will lower key rates, bringing the deposit facility to 2.50%, the main refinancing rate to 2.65%, and the marginal lending facility to 2.90%. The bank says the disinflation process is on track, with inflation projected to average 2.3% in 2025, 1.9% in 2026, and 2.0% in 2027. The rate cut comes amid growing economic uncertainties in the Eurozone, as the ECB has also revised down its growth forecast to 0.9% in 2025, 1.2% in 2026, and 1.3% in 2027. China is set to take a more proactive fiscal approach this year to drive economic growth, according to Finance Minister Lan Fuan. Speaking at a press conference during the country's annual two sessions in Beijing, Lan emphasized that China has more room for fiscal action to strengthen the economy. He also highlighted plans for increased transfer payments to local governments to boost their financial capacity. The fiscal policy will focus on key sectors such as education, social security, employment, science and technology, healthcare and housing. Officials say that these measures aim to enhance economic stability and long-term growth as China navigates a challenging global economic landscape. And that brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here is what we have been covering. Hamas warns that further Israeli military escalation puts detainees in Gaza at risk of death. The U.S. president confirms direct talks with Hamas over the release of Israeli and American detainees. And Russian President Vladimir Putin hits back at France, citing Napoleon's failed invasion of Russia. And this concludes our news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Qnews EG to stay informed. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates here on Qnews.